What's going on, my creative collective? Welcome to this week's creative process, which is all about focus plans. So in this video, I'm going to give you a bit of my secret weapon. I'm also going to share the most important aspect of this. That'll come after that. And then at the very end, I will give you, and I'll put the timestamps and everything. I'll give you the plan that I used and developed after reading hundreds, and I do mean hundreds of development books, self-development, management, and business books. Quite basic. Some people might say, I can't believe you're giving this away. I don't want to keep it. I want to share this. So that'll come at the end. So we're going to dive in. What is a focus plan? A focus plan comes from this book here. Again, going back to sports psychology, it looks at high performance and when you need to be on your best. And I find that the world that we live in right now, not just kind of harried and haphazardly our energy is strewn through or can be very scattered in a day. I feel like the time that we're living in calls upon things like this because it is something that helps to ground and anchor our days, right? It helps to anchor our days. It's harnessing this power of your mind, and it's harnessing this potentially scattered nature of it to focus, right? So what is a focus plan? It is basically exactly what it says. It's a plan that you put together. For me, it was the specifics of, what can I think about in downtime, right? What can I think about? This isn't to structure things so there's no spontaneity or free flow, okay? This is about looking at, for example, when I do runs, right? I'm trying to build up to a 10K just because I want to do it. I woke up one morning a couple of weeks ago and I was like, I'm going to do a 5K tomorrow, I think. Yeah. And then I just did it. So I feel that kind of same thing where I will build up and be like, you know what? I just feel like doing a 10K and then just go ahead and do it. But in order to get there, even when I'm on 5K runs, I have to think about something when I'm on the track for that long, when I'm on the trail for that long. I found that it's never the run itself that's hard. It's your mind. It is figuring out what to do with your thoughts while you are running, while you are in the midst of the activity that allows your body to feel the freedom and ability to continue at its current pace. So the first part of this, number one, is to create some kind of thought playlist. I find this to be really helpful with music because music is something that it sort of builds upon and frees up all of this space where my synesthesia is concerned, right? So finding a thought playlist. This is also aspects of NLP, so neuro-linguistic programming. Building a thought playlist that impacts you physiologically, right? Remember, we're spiritual beings, yes. We are also having a human experience. So in these bodies, how are we optimizing the conditions so that we can thrive, so that we can get from point A to point B? Okay, so when it comes to the energy, how are we working with it and grounding it into a place? That's what I find thought playlists do. Beyond music, beyond just listening to specific playlists. For example, I like to run and I have playlists that I listen to only when I'm running so that when those songs come on, I know my brain gets the signal that it's go time. I know based on what song I'm on where I start to lag in my running, right? So it's building systems, a whole system that works for you. That's part of this focus plan as well. So thought playlists can also include, what thoughts do you just enjoy thinking about? Most of us are very disconnected from this process, and I'm not saying anchor in your mind, but it's learning how to harness that and how to empower yourself through that too. That's what neurodivergence has made me an expert in, related to not only how I function, but just in offerings that I can give to other people like this. So think about a thought playlist. What are some thoughts that you just enjoy thinking about? What are the topics, right? What are things that are just delicious to think about? Right? I think about times that I've spent with friends, possibilities of going to cottages, one day owning my own cottage. Oh, that would be brilliant, right? Thinking about all the fun that you can have there, remembering times where you had X, Y, and Z experience, focusing on the specifics of a memory that you have that you really enjoy. What was delicious about it? Going to those places and just giving yourself, you don't have to work hard at this. It's not something that should take up energy that takes away from your energy elsewhere. But what this does is it prepares you for the moments where your mind slows down, right? We all have moments in our day that are super rote. And if we're not giving our brain the best chance at at flow. This is the part where ideas come in. This is where fresh new things can move. This is where your own, not just your inspiration, but your own sense of your power comes through, right? You have to give yourself that chance. So this is about intention setting on the one hand, but this is also about creating something that just feels good to you, right? Relying on your mind to do more than just operate unconsciously, because it's not about structuring every single moment. This is about giving your brain the benefit of that downtime, right? Just breathing and allowing. And over time, what you do is you train your brain and you train your body as well, because the physiological response here, you train your brain that certain thoughts are more welcome. You tend to think about specific things more. You tend to do specific things more. I'm not talking about controlling every little detail, because there's spontaneity that can get in as well. But if you expect, this is what I had to learn about myself when I was diagnosed with ADHD late in life, but I look back with so much compassion for myself as a kid and as a teenager, because it's like expecting, the best without giving any structure or framework for a kid to understand what they need to do, for a kid to understand how they can succeed and how they can do their best. We can have a good idea of our skills and our skill sets, but what this particular creative process does is anchors it in some juice, so that every time there's a downtime moment or there's a rote moment where you find yourself staring into the middle distance, we all have them, right? We all have them. We all need them. Right? We all need them. It's allowing your brain to flow freely and just to be, right? To float in the ether. But if your brain has been trained towards more negatively oriented thoughts and thinking about yourself too, right? This is also how you cultivate a sense of self-appreciation and love, because if you're thinking predominantly about the negatives, if you're thinking about the things that you didn't do, or you go through those, like, I had this disagreement with this person, and you're in the shower and it's like, there's so many memes about this where you think about like the best thing to say after the fact. The moments in the shower, or the moments where you're, out and you're in a line somewhere at a store, right? I did groceries yesterday, so use that example. So, groceries. When you're at a grocery store, what are you thinking about in line? Are you aware that you're thinking? This isn't about, again, don't control it, but just say, wow, how much kinder of a thing is it to think about thoughts that fuel you and that remind you of your light, that sit in that power, that help you to recognize your power. So another part of this is to take a jar, for example. This is your manifesting jar. I like to do this when I go on runs. I'm in my Mars energy. It's like fired up and I'm ready, right? It's that action-oriented energy. So many things happen in the mind when we're in that place. So I like to take a jar from the dollar store. This is where I keep my pens, right? So there you go. It's not very clean. It's kind of dusty. Oh well. I like to take a jar and put thoughts on little scraps of paper, things that I'm looking to manifest, things that I am manifesting, things that are coming true. I'm so happy and grateful now that, and then write these down, right? And write these down. And then you can pull from them. You can pull these little slips of paper before you go for a run or wherever you're going that you might find part of this sort of boring rote time, right? And it gives you access to different things. It's just fun. It's a fun activity. And it's not to say every moment of our day has to be accounted for by doing something productive. It's not. I just know that having ADHD, when my mind is not given some kind of focus, this isn't saying think about this specifically. This is just saying, hey, here's a direction you might want to go in that feels really good, that's in your best and highest good, that's of interest to you, and not of interest because you're disconnected and bored or energetically feeling kind of meh. Because the thing about ADHD and just neurodivergence that I've learned over time, and a lot of the hard way, like this was hard-won knowledge that I hope makes somebody's life easier, but it is that if you don't have something to think about, sometimes it can trigger this sense of boredom and your energy just gets scattered. And you can ground and you can do all these things, but I think that the one thing to remember is that neurodivergence is a gift that your mind sees things and experiences things completely differently. And I think it's also a gift to neurotypicality as well. So this part is the most important aspect of this, okay? By far, when you do these activities and when you're in this mind space, this sort of brain-oriented, this cerebral place, it is so crucial to do something afterwards to ground your energy. To use an example, when I go for a run and I do this, and I'm often in my head, I'm very embodied on the run because it's such a beautiful embodiment to me. But what I will also do is I have a little electrolyte powder. Actually, I'll just put it here in case anyone's interested. Can upset stomachs because it's magnesium, so use at your own risk. Don't do anything that's against your doctor's orders. Follow all of that advice. But I'll have that powder, and I'll put it into my water, right, to make sure that I'm replenishing all of the good minerals and things like that in my system. So I will make sure that I intentionally and mindfully taste the water. I will taste the flavor. It's, and another thing that you can do, Anodea Judith in this book has something called the bioenergetic grounding pose, and it is phenomenal. So it's finding even just yoga poses. I think Christina Lopes talked about this in one of her videos recently too, about routines. It's like finding poses. I feel like I am right there with her in that I am so bad at yoga. It's pretty interesting. Yoga classes usually consisted of the teacher sticking somewhere near me because I would be like shaking because I'm trying to hold the pose, which was kind of funny, but nonetheless, but just finding very simple poses that you can do to ground the energy. But that bioenergetic grounding pose, like chef's kiss, brilliant. So another, tool that you can use to ground is to have weights. Like I like to ground with weights. It doesn't have to be the best strength training you've ever done. Like we're not talking about personal bests here. I'm talking about doing a couple squats, 5, right? Doing 5 squats and then doing 5 bicep curls, or even just like flies to really, to feel where you are, right? To bring yourself back. It doesn't even have to be high weights, just something that moves your body. Now we're going to move into the lamppost plan that I put together as part of this. The reason why I'm connecting these dots in terms of the focus plan and this goal setting template really is because it was for me a way of focusing my energy and giving me ways to focus on the plan. Having a focus plan isn't just about how you think in the down times that you have, or the moments of, a particular boredom, that kind of idea, right? I find that it's important for ideas to have something to ground into. And I liked this plan. It worked for me. This is based on hundreds of books that I've read. I read about a book a day. And at one point when I worked at a bookstore, I was reading about 2 per day. This plan for me, anchoring these thoughts, these ideas that I would get, I came to understand that you can really only do about 3 big things per year. People may be like, what? Yes, I will tell you why. Because if you want to sink deeply into that thing, there are 1, 2, 3 things that you can do. There are other things that are related to it. And it's understanding that and in placing those things as part of the bigger picture, as part of the bigger goal, right? And it allows you to, it frees up your energy because you're not so, you're led in a specific direction. Yes, it focuses your time and it focuses your energy in a way that plans operating without one, you don't need it, but it helps because I know that I'm free to be spontaneous. I can be, I don't have to adhere to this all the time because it's working in the background on my behalf. This particular plan also helped me go from it. I jumped in about $10,000 worth of income when I started using this. So I jumped by 10,000. And then I changed jobs. I ended up getting a car in this time, using this and anchoring this. I also sat on an advisory committee for a city council where I lived at the time. In addition to that, I also ended up going to grad school without a BA. So this comes with, I actually used this in my own life and I wanted to give it away. I'm putting it in the description below. I did the work. I'll put the articles below as well. I'm going to put it public on Google Docs so you can download it. Can I see if you've downloaded it? No. I'm putting the articles in the description box below as well so that you can link to those and see for yourself. It might only tell me how many people downloaded it, at which point I don't really care who does. Like I care that you have it, but those are to me just vanity metrics. They don't mean much because I just want people to be able to have it and use it. It's based on my experiences as running. When I first started running, I would go, okay, I just need to get to the next lamppost, right? Because it was on a trail in a city. So it would be like, okay, I need to get to the next lamppost. And then I would get to the next lamppost and I'd be like, okay, I can still push. I like get to the next lamppost. And then that was how I built up to 5K. So that structure, implementing using that in terms of goal setting really became the way that I would get to finish lines in terms of visualizing that and anchoring it in something. So the finish line strategy for me was about how do I get to the next step, just the next lamppost, and then the next lamppost, and then the next one. So you'll also see in there building in things that allow you to be curious and have fun with things. How can you have fun with what you're doing? How can you have fun with the goals? What questions do you need to ask specific to a 3-month period, to a 6-month period, to a 12-month period, right? So, but again, it's understanding as excited and excitable as we might be about specific things, there's really only 3 things that we can do in a year that are really big for ourselves. Sometimes that's going to include a move. Sometimes that might include changing jobs, right? But think about how many big things you can really have happen in a year that will not stress out your system, right? So it's like, there's really only 3. Even if it's stuff that we're creating or putting into the world, there's only so much that you can do. And you want to give yourself time to prioritize your well-being, your exercise, your nutrition, a partner, romantic relationships, family relationships, friendships. You want to leave yourself that time to prioritize other things so that you have life, right? So that life is full. So that's this week's creative process. If you enjoyed this, I hope that it helps you. That's my big goal, is I hope that it helps. So if it does, feel free to like, subscribe, and share if you want. But ultimately, I hope it helps you and where you're at. So yeah. And as always, wherever this finds you on the time-space continuum, morning, afternoon, or night, I hope it finds you very, very well, my friends. Take care.